The cheap glitter from the get-well-soon card I was writing for my daughter's mother-in-law shimmered on my fingertips. But my hand froze mid-sentence as I glanced at my phone. A friend had just posted a photo from her holiday cruise, and in the background, unmistakable and radiant, was my daughter Emily, her husband Mark, and his supposedly deathly ill mother, all of them raising cocktail glasses on a sun-drenched beach in Hawaii. Hi, everyone. The channel calls me Grandma Judith. My name is Judith Miller. I'm 72 years old, and I live in a small town in Michigan where the winters are long and the silence can be very loud. This is a story that's only a few years old, but the wound it left feels as fresh as this morning's frost. It's about a Christmas I thought would be my loneliest, and a text message that changed my daughter's life forever. It's a secret I've held close, a story about how the greatest betrayal can come wrapped in the language of concern, and how the truth can arrive in a single gut-wrenching photograph. Sharing this feels like admitting a part of my heart has been broken for good. So, before I begin, I would be so grateful if you would please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support reminds me that even in our quietest moments of pain, we are never truly alone. It gives me the strength to tell this story. Thank you, my dears. My story, the one that truly matters, began the day my Emily was born. Her father passed away in a car accident when I was 3 months pregnant, so from her very first breath, it was just the two of us. My little girl and me against the world. And believe me, sometimes it felt like it truly was. Life was a struggle. I worked as a seamstress out of our tiny 2-bedroom apartment, my fingers often raw from the needle, my back aching from hunching over the sewing machine day and night. We never had much money. Our furniture was secondhand. Our clothes were often from the thrift store or things I'd made myself. But gosh, our home was filled with love. And our Christmases were magic. They had to be. I couldn't give her mountains of expensive presents, so I gave her a mountain of tradition instead. Our magic started the day after Thanksgiving. We'd bundle up and go to the local tree farm, and I'd let her pick out the scraggliest, most imperfect little tree she could find. She always said they needed the most love. We'd bring it home, and the whole apartment would smell of pine. We didn't have fancy glass ornaments. We had ours. Ornaments we made together out of gingerbread, and strings of popcorn and cranberries we'd thread while watching It's a Wonderful Life. Every year, I'd make one special ornament for her, something that represented her year. The year she learned to read, I made a tiny book out of felt. The year she won the spelling bee, a little golden bee with pipe cleaner wings. Our tree wasn't a decorator's dream. It was a map of her childhood. It was a testament to our love. Christmas Eve was our sacred time. I'd make my famous hot cocoa so thick and chocolatey you had to eat it with a spoon, and we'd sit by the fire in our matching pajamas. Pajamas I'd sewn myself, and I would read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. Every year, without fail, even when she was a teenager and pretended to be too cool for it. That was our time. It was the anchor of our year. I poured every ounce of myself, every penny I could spare, into her future. I wanted her to have a life that wasn't a constant struggle, a life bigger than the 4 walls of our small apartment. And she did it. She worked so hard. She was the first person in our family to go to college. I remember sitting at her graduation, watching her walk across that stage, and I felt a pride so fierce it was a physical pain in my chest. We had done it. College is where she met Mark. And he was a good boy, truly. He was studying to be an engineer. He was polite, hard-working, and he absolutely adored my Emily. He came from a different world, though. A world of comfort and money. And with that world came his mother, Cynthia. The first time I met Cynthia, I felt a chill, even though it was a warm spring day. She was an image of perfection. Tall, blonde, rail-thin, in a crisp linen suit that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. She didn't have a hair out of place. Her smile was bright and perfect, but it never quite reached her eyes. Her eyes were like a hawk's, constantly scanning, evaluating. She looked around my small, humble living room, at the worn but comfortable armchair and the handmade quilts, and she said the one word that wealthy people use when they don't know what else to say. How quaint! From the beginning, her love language was money. She would take Emily on shopping sprees, buying her expensive clothes and handbags I could never afford. "A girl has to look the part," she'd say with a tinkling laugh. She introduced Emily to a life of 5-star restaurants, charity galas, and weekend trips to their immaculate, soulless second home in the wine country. I tried not to be jealous. I told myself I should be happy. My daughter was experiencing things I had only dreamed of for her. But I saw my Emily, my sweet, down-to-earth girl, starting to change. She became quieter around me, more distant. She started to look at our life, the life we had built together, with a sort of polite embarrassment. Our cherished traditions, our handmade Christmas ornaments, suddenly seemed childish to her when compared to the lavish, professionally catered Christmas parties the new family threw. Cynthia's love was a form of acquisition, and she was slowly acquiring my daughter. And Emily, so dazzled by the shine of it all, was letting her. A tiny, cold fear began to grow in my heart. I had raised a daughter who was grateful for love. I worried she was becoming a woman who was only grateful for things. And I had a terrible sinking feeling that Christmas, our most sacred time, was about to become the battlefield where I would find out for sure. The first Christmas after Emily and Mark got engaged was the beginning of the end. I had, as always, started our traditions the day after Thanksgiving. I called Emily, my heart full of excitement. "Honey, are you free on Saturday? We can go get our tree." There was a pause on the other end of the line. A hesitation I had never heard before when it came to our traditions. "Oh, Mom," she said, her voice strained. Actually, Cynthia already took care of it. She had a 10-foot fir tree delivered from some special nursery in Vermont. She said it's for all of us to enjoy at her house. A 10-foot fir from Vermont. My heart sank. Our tradition of picking out a scraggly, unloved tree and giving it a home was replaced by a perfect, professionally sourced specimen that I wasn't even supposed to house. "Oh," I said, my voice small. "Well, that's very generous of her, isn't it?" Emily said, her voice full of a forced brightness that didn't hide her own discomfort. "She's having it professionally decorated tomorrow. She wants us all to be there for the tree trimming party." A party, with caterers and strangers. Our quiet, sacred ritual of stringing popcorn and reminiscing over handmade ornaments was being replaced by a social event. I went, of course. I stood in a corner of Cynthia's enormous marble-floored living room, sipping champagne that tasted like acid, and I watched 2 men in overalls hang perfectly uniform, glittering gold and silver balls on the monstrous tree. Chloe's childhood ornaments, the little felt book and the pipe cleaner bee, stayed in their box at my apartment. They didn't match the color scheme. That Christmas Eve, for the first time in 30 years, my daughter was not with me. "Cynthia is hosting her annual Christmas Eve gala," Emily had explained, her eyes unable to meet mine. "It's a huge deal, hundreds of people. It's for charity, Mom. We have to go." So I sat alone in my quiet living room, in front of my own small, scraggly tree that I had gone out and gotten by myself. I wore the pajamas I had sewn for myself, but there was no matching pair for her. I made my hot cocoa, but it tasted bitter. I picked up "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," but the words caught in my throat. The silence in the apartment was deafening. It was the first time I truly understood what it meant to be lonely. My daughter was a few miles away, dressed in a designer gown, laughing with strangers, and it felt like she was on another planet. I told myself it was just a transition, that once they were married, things would settle down. We would find a new rhythm, a new way to share the holidays. Gosh, what a fool I was. After the wedding, a lavish, Cynthia-orchestrated affair where my handmade quilt for their wedding gift was politely thanked for, and then, I'm sure, hidden away in a linen closet. Things only got worse. Emily and Mark bought a house in a wealthy suburb, closer to Cynthia, further from me. My Emily, a girl who used to call me every day, now went weeks with only a few perfunctory texts. "So busy with the new house," she'd write. "Hope you're good. XOXO." I felt like I was a plant that had been uprooted and left on the side of the road, my roots exposed and withering in the sun, while she was being repotted in a beautiful climate-controlled greenhouse. The second Christmas was even more telling. I tried to be proactive. "Honey," I said on the phone in early December, "what day works for you to come over? And we can bake our Christmas cookies." Another tradition. Hours spent in my warm kitchen, covered in flour, decorating gingerbread men. "Oh, Mom, I don't think I have a single free weekend," she said breezily. "Cynthia has us completely booked. There's the charity ball and the symphony's holiday concert, and she signed us up for a gingerbread house decorating class at the club. A class at a country club, to do what we had always done for free, with more love than money, in my own kitchen." The casual cruelty of it stole my breath. She wasn't just replacing our traditions. She was upgrading them, turning them into expensive, socially acceptable versions that had no room for me. Then, about a week before Christmas, the phone call came. It was my heart instantly seized with fear. "What is it, honey? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, Mom. It's Cynthia." She took a deep breath. She's not well. The doctors, they think it might be her heart. It's very serious. They've ordered her to have complete and total bed rest. No stress. No excitement whatsoever." "Oh my goodness," I said, my mind reeling. As much as I disliked the woman, I would never wish illness on anyone. That's terrible. "What can I do?" "Well, that's the thing," Emily said. And here her voice became heavy with a false sense of tragic duty. "Mark is a mess, just beside himself with worry. He can't possibly leave her side, and I need to be there for him, for her, to manage the house, to talk to the nurses, you understand." A cold, familiar dread began to creep in. I knew what was coming. "So," she continued, her voice dropping to a near whisper, I don't think we can make it for Christmas Day. We can't leave her. It would be unthinkable. Christmas Day, the one day I thought was non-negotiable, the one day that had been the culmination of all our sacred rituals. "Oh, Chloe," I said, my voice trembling slightly. Of course, you need to be with her. Family comes first." "I knew you'd understand," she said, a wave of relief washing through her voice. "You're the best, Mom. We'll make it up to you. After the holidays, after she's stable." I hung up the phone and stared out the window at the falling snow. My entire holiday, my entire world, had been cancelled because Cynthia had a weak heart. But even through my own profound sense of loss, a tiny, suspicious thought planted itself in my mind. Cynthia, the woman who seemed to be made of steel and ice, suddenly frail and at death's door? Right before Christmas? It seemed incredibly convenient, but I pushed the thought down. I felt ashamed of it. I told myself I was being cynical, that I was a bitter old woman who couldn't stand to see her daughter's attention be somewhere else. So I decided to do what I had always done, be the good, supportive mother. I spent the next few days in a fog of quiet grief. I went through the motions. I wrapped the few presents I had bought for Emily and Mark. I started writing a get-well-soon card for Cynthia, my words full of a sympathy I wasn't sure I truly felt. Christmas morning arrived, cold and silent. I sat by myself in my living room, the lights of my little tree twinkling, a cup of tea growing cold in my hands. The silence was a physical weight. I had never felt so utterly and completely alone in my entire life. My daughter, my whole world, was miles away, caring for the woman who had so methodically and successfully stolen her from me. It was around 10 a.m. when I picked up my phone, just to numb the silence, to scroll through the lives of others. And that's when I saw it. The photo that stopped my heart and shattered my world all over again, but in a completely new and devastating way. It was from a former neighbor, a woman named Carol, who was on a holiday cruise. She had just posted a batch of photos. The caption read, "Aloha from Honolulu. Having a wonderful time. You never know who you'll run into." And in the main photo, standing on the deck of a cruise ship with a tropical drink in her hand, was my old neighbor. But it wasn't her that made the air leave my lungs. It was the people in the background, unmistakable, laughing, tanned and radiant in Hawaiian shirts and sundresses. My daughter, Emily, a large fruity cocktail, looking the absolute picture of health and vitality. Her husbands, they were in Hawaii, on a Christmas cruise, and I, like a fool, was sitting alone in the Michigan snow, writing her a get well card. I stared at the photo. I zoomed in until the pixels were blurry, but the image was undeniable. It was them. The backdrop wasn't a sterile sick room. It was the sparkling blue of the Pacific Ocean. Cynthia wasn't pale and weak. She was tanned and laughing, a hibiscus flower tucked behind her ear. Her heart condition was apparently best treated with sunshine and Mai Tai. In that instant, the world didn't just stop. It rearranged itself into a new, hideous, and brutally clear picture. Every suspicion I had suppressed, every doubt I had felt guilty for, rushed to the surface and solidified into a terrible certainty. It wasn't just a lie. It was a conspiracy. This wasn't a last-minute decision. This was a plan. They had booked this cruise months in advance. The story about Cynthia's health wasn't a real crisis. It was a strategy. It was the perfect, airtight excuse to cut me out of their Christmas completely, without having to face the messy emotions of telling me the truth. They simply preferred to be in Hawaii without me. They had weaponized my love and my sympathy against me. They had counted on me to be the good, understanding mother, to step aside gracefully so they could enjoy their vacation guilt-free. I looked down at the glitter on my fingers from the get well card. I looked at the neatly wrapped presents under my little tree. I looked around the silent, empty room. And something inside me, a soft, warm place that had been grieving for the loss of my daughter, turned to ice. The pain was so sharp, so absolute, that it burned through the sorrow and left behind something else. A pure, cold, and diamond-hard rage. My daughter hadn't just chosen a different life. She had actively, cruelly, and methodically lied to abandon me on the one day of the year that was sacred to us. She had used a phantom illness to leave her mother utterly alone on Christmas morning. It was a betrayal of such breathtaking cruelty that it defied comprehension. My hands didn't even shake. A strange, preternatural calm settled over me. The grief was gone. The loneliness was gone. All that was left was a single clear objective. They had wanted a Christmas without me. I was about to give them a new year they would never forget. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I took a slow, deliberate sip of my now cold tea. I picked up my phone. My first action was simple. I saved the photo. I screenshotted it, downloaded it, and saved it to my camera roll, just in case my friend decided to take it down. Then, I began to think, what do you do when your entire world has been built on a foundation of love and trust, and you discover it's all a lie? You don't scream. You don't cry. You get strategic. For the past year, I had been helping Emily and Mark with their finances. Not in a big way, just helping them set up a budget. I was good with numbers, always had been. To do so, Emily had given me the online login and password to their main joint checking account, the one where Mark's engineering salary was deposited. She'd said, "Mom, you're so much better at this stuff than I am. Can you just check in once a month and make sure we're not overspending?" I rarely did it, but I had the information saved in my old ledger book. With steady fingers, I opened my laptop, went to the bank's website, and logged in. My heart was a cold, steady drum. I had never looked at their detailed statements before. I had only ever looked at the summary page. Now, I opened the full statement for the past 6 months. And there it was. The evidence of their lie, clear as day in the cold, hard language of debits and credits. A charge from 3 months ago, Royal Hawaiian Cruise Lines for an amount that made my head spin. Airline tickets to Honolulu, purchased on the same day. A charge from a week ago for a rental car in Maui. But then I saw something else. Something that made the cold rage in my heart burn even hotter. I saw their mortgage payments. Their car payments. Their student loan payments for Emily's degree, the degree I had worked my fingers to the bone to help her get. And then I scrolled down, and I saw the deposits. Mark's salary, yes. But there was another, smaller, recurring deposit. Every month, for the past 2 years. A deposit of $500 with the memo. Family support, J. Miller, Doughty. It was the money I sent them. Every single month since they got married. I didn't have much, but after I'd paid my own bills, I'd send them what I could spare from my small Social Security check and the little bit I made from mending jobs. I had imagined it was helping them save for a rainy day, maybe pay down their student loans a little faster. I wanted to continue contributing, to feel like I was still helping my daughter build her life. $500 a month. It was a huge sacrifice for me. It meant I couldn't afford to fix the leaky faucet in my kitchen. It meant I wore my winter coat for another year, even though it was thin. They had been taking my sacrifice, my $500 a month, and using it to fund a life of luxury that excluded me. They were using my money, the money I earned with a needle and thread, to pay for their Hawaiian vacation. The betrayal was so complete, so absolute, it was almost sublime. It was a work of art. In that moment, something inside me broke for good. The soft, forgiving mother was gone. The woman who made excuses for her daughter was gone. The woman who blamed herself was gone. And in her place was a woman holding a financial statement that was more powerful than any weapon. I logged out of their bank account. I took a deep breath. And I picked up my phone. I composed a new text message. I attached the screenshot. The photo of them, laughing in Hawaii, tanned and happy. My finger hovered over the send button. I thought about what to write. Should I be angry? Accusatory? Heartbroken? No. None of the above. I decided to be cold. To be factual. To be final. I typed out a single, simple sentence. And I addressed it not just to Emily, but to a group chat that I knew included her, Mark, and, most importantly, Cynthia. My message read, "Since you're all together, can you please tell me if you'd prefer I cancel the $500 monthly family support payment, or should I just forward it directly to Royal Hawaiian Cruise Lines from now on?" And then, with a hand that was as steady as a surgeon's, I pressed send. I turned my phone over, face down on the table. I stood up, walked into my kitchen, and started to make myself a fresh, hot cup of tea. The silence in the apartment was no longer lonely. It was peaceful. It was the quiet, calm, and deeply satisfying silence of a bomb that has just been armed and dropped. And I knew, with every fiber of my being, that its detonation, thousands of miles away, would be glorious. The first phone call came less than a minute after I sent the text. It was Emily. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. Then it rang again, immediately. I ignored it. Then a call from a number I didn't recognize, a Hawaiian area code. Mark.I. I ignored that too. Then came a barrage of texts, one after another, a frantic cascade of digital panic. "Mom, call me now." Kinami. "It's not what it looks like." Kanen. I knew. Air was a last-minute recovery. The doctor said the sea air would be good for her. Oh. "Mom, please answer the phone." Banani. The lies were so clumsy, so transparently desperate, it was almost pitiful. A last-minute recovery? A doctor prescribing a Christmas cruise for a critical heart condition? They weren't just liars, they were bad liars. They had never expected to be caught. I didn't respond to a single one. My silence was my new weapon. For years my voice had been devalued, my opinions dismissed. Now, the absence of my voice, the denial of my response, was the most powerful thing I possessed. They were thousands of miles away, trapped on a boat in the middle of the ocean, with nothing but their lies and the cold, hard evidence of the photo I had sent them. There was no escape. I can only imagine the scene on that cruise ship. The frantic whispers, the recriminations, the perfect Hawaiian vacation turning into a tropical prison. I imagined Cynthia's perfectly composed face cracking, her son realizing the trap he had walked into, and my daughter, my Emily, finally understanding the true cost of her choices. The text wasn't just for Emily, it was for Mark and Cynthia too. It let them know, in no uncertain terms, that the quiet, provincial mother-in-law they had so easily dismissed was not only aware of their deception, but had the financial records to prove it. I spent the rest of my Christmas day in a state of profound, almost shocking, peace. I watched It's a Wonderful Life. I drank my hot cocoa. I opened the small presents I had bought for myself. For the first time, I wasn't waiting for my daughter to make my Christmas feel complete. I was complete on my own. When they returned a week later, the fallout was immediate and catastrophic. David, Mark's older brother, who was also on the group chat, had apparently been horrified by the deception. The perfect, united family image that Cynthia had cultivated for decades shattered overnight. Emily showed up at my door. She didn't look tanned and radiant. She looked pale and broken. She had been crying for days. She tried to apologize, to explain. The words tumbled out. It was all Cynthia's idea. She had felt pressured. She didn't want to disappoint Mark. She was going to tell me eventually. I let her finish. I listened calmly, without interruption. When she was done, her voice hoarse with tears, I looked at her, and I didn't feel rage anymore. I just felt a deep, profound sadness. "Did you have a choice, Emily?" I asked quietly. "What?" she sniffled. When Cynthia suggested this plan, I said, my voice gentle but firm, "Did you, at any point, say, 'No, I will not lie to my mother. I will not abandon her on Christmas. It's wrong'? Did you have that choice?" She stared at me, her eyes wide with the truth she couldn't escape. "Yes," she whispered. "And you chose not to," I said, not as an accusation, but as a simple statement of fact. You chose the cruise. You chose the lie. You chose them. And choices have consequences. That was the moment she understood. This wasn't something a tearful apology could fix. I hadn't just been hurt. I had been fundamentally disrespected. And the trust, the sacred, unconditional trust that had been the bedrock of our entire relationship, was gone. It had been traded for a cocktail with a little paper umbrella in it. The outcome was a quiet, slow-motion demolition. I, of course, immediately canceled the $500 monthly payment. But it was more than that. I withdrew. I stopped calling. I stopped initiating plans. I was always polite, always civil when she reached out. But the warmth, the unquestioning love, the open door to my heart, it was closed. Locked. She could knock, but she no longer had the key. Her marriage to Mark, which was built on a foundation of shared lies and lifestyle, began to crumble under the strain. Without my financial and emotional support, and with the new tension in his own family, Emily started to see the man she had married and the mother-in-law she had chosen in a new, harsh light. The glamour faded, and she was left with the reality. They separated within the year. She has spent the last couple of years trying to find her way back, not just to me, but to herself. To the girl who valued love over luxury, who understood the magic of a handmade ornament. It's been a hard road for her, and a part of me aches to see her pain. But it's a journey she has to take on her own. She had to lose everything to realize what she had thrown away. The lesson I learned that Christmas morning is a painful one, but it's vital. You must never allow your love for someone to become an excuse for them to disrespect you. Love without respect is not love. It's a form of consumption. They were consuming my money, my time, my traditions, and my heart, and giving nothing but deceit in return. My revenge wasn't loud or explosive. It was a single text message. It was a quiet act of self-respect. It was me, finally, choosing myself. I didn't take away her inheritance or ruin her publicly. I just held up a mirror and forced her to look at the person she had become. And sometimes, the most devastating thing in the world is simply seeing your own reflection clearly for the first time. Thank you for listening to my story. It's a sad one, but it's a true one. Please, before you go, Show your support for this channel by liking this video and subscribing. It helps us continue to share these stories that need to be heard. If you have ever had to make the difficult choice to put your own self-respect first, please share your strength in the comments below. Your story could be the light someone else needs to find their way. Love you all. This is Grandma Judith, and I'll see you in the next story.